Hello and welcome to another episode of That's Dota. We're going to be doing another Reddit game here. We've got a game that looks like it's going to be quite interesting just out from the start straight away. I'm Gus and I'm joined today by Mark. Mark, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks.
We're good. We're coming from a game where we had good fun, it was close, it was tight, and now we're pumped and we're ready to go.
Dire team ban.
So we're just taking a quick look. We're coming in here after getting the first couple of picks and bans out. Kind of standard bans that are coming out at the moment. Something that we are used to seeing. We see the Life Stealer, the Nature's Prophet, Naga, Clockwork, Timbersaw, all kind of heroes that can be an absolute pain if they get going. Especially something like the Light Stealer, this is why they get banned out.
Yeah, well, the Life Stealer, yeah, and the Nature's Prophet are two heroes that snowball quite hard. Nature's Prophet's usually going to pick up a Midas, and the Life Stealer can get kills early on in the game. And then the Clockwork and the Timbersaw, good bans as well. Clockwork is a decent offlaner and a superb initiator, and if he gets a good cogs in as well, he can be a great team fighter. And Timbersaw as well is another great team fighter and great solo ganker. Once he gets his level 6, he starts putting out insane damage, and if you get an early bloodstone on him, you can start balling quite fast.
But see, now I like seeing Lich coming out more and more now, just because he's with the latest changes to him, he's become so much relevant with the changes to sacrifice and how the creeps work. The fact is, we've talked about it before, where you can actually lane a Lich at the tier 3 tower and let him just deny creeps, and it actually works out.
Yeah, I mean, what we're starting to see now in the meta is the supports being picked are supports that can find experience elsewhere, because obviously before the new patch, what was happening was you pick a tri lane, your two supports would start pulling from the jungle, and that would pull the lane towards your tower, which would help you carry, but also your supports would be getting experience off the jungle creeps. That doesn't work as well anymore, because you're getting less experience off the jungle creeps, and also your offlaner can soak up experience without having to get the last hits. So what we're seeing now is we're seeing heroes being picked that can go into the lane fine, but also when they need to get experience, they can go and solo jungle, or they can get experience elsewhere. So you're seeing Lich picked up quite a lot because he has a sacrifice, but you're also seeing heroes like Crystal Maiden being picked up. A good bit she can jungle. Yeah, and so kind of lots of heroes really like that.
And more importantly about Lich, Chain Frost. Don't need to say anymore. We see the other picks that are coming out. The Rubik coming out as soon, which is a great hero to actually pick. This straight away. There's two heroes coming out with huge ults, especially the Death Prophet. It's such an easy skill to steal, just because the fact you know when it's coming out, you can see it. It's ridiculously obvious. Same with the Lich, but we do see that Magnus has been picked as well as at a Gyrocopter. Now, Gyrocopter is one of the heroes I think that he gets underplayed and he's undervalued, but his right-click potential as he gets later onto the game is fantastic, and he has such early game potential with the Rocket Barrage as well. If you get even slightly out of position, he can just sit on top of you and do huge damage.
Yeah, I mean, he was being picked up like quite a lot, especially over TI3 back in over the summer. He was being picked up in nearly every game, and it's because he's just such a good hero throughout the game. He starts off extremely strong with his Rocket Barrage, and his homing missile is doing decent damage. Then when you transition into the mid game, his call down is an excellent team fighting ability, and then also he scales well into the late game. And he's probably one of the very few heroes that can legitimately pick up a Divine Rapier. I think we saw Havos pick up 3 in the last in the MLG. So yeah, because I mean that stacks so well with Flat Cannon obviously, and he can put out insane damage. But yeah, he's a really good hero. One thing I suppose is good to note is in this game we're seeing a load of team fight heroes being picked. So we have the Lich, the Death Prophet, the Magnus, Gyro, Rubik if he picks up something. So yeah, we should see some pretty impressive team fights here.
And especially with that, Mirana's ult is the fact that she can initiate all these great team fight potential. They get in, they get an Orpy, they get a call down, and if Rubik hopefully has stolen something, anything off the enemy team, he's going to be able to do great damage. We see the next pick's coming out, by the way, the Dire is a Tiny and a Morphling. Tiny, I feel like he's a hero that I really enjoy playing, and the fact is that once you get him going, he's very hard to stop. Kind of one of the heroes that I prefer to play him more with boots and phase, like we've discussed about this in the last video. We saw how effective he can be if he gets that combo off, if he avalanches and actually tosses the hero onto the avalanche again.
Yeah, he's the ability to shoot out absolutely insane damage in the early to mid game. The problem is he's fairly constricted by his mana. I tend to like to pick up something like a drums in him, which is a nice kind of or a mana boots if you're going to go phase boots, something anyway to help him with his mana pool, because it's going to really, once you combo at the very beginning, you're going to have all your mana gone. But yeah, so in the early game he's really lethal, and then he doesn't fall off late game. He kind of he's in the middle somewhere. I mean, his grow is decent. If he picks up an Aghanims, he's going to be very good at knocking down towers, which is obviously important. And then his craggy exterior is something that's always going to be relevant. The Morphling is a really interesting pickup, actually. The Morphling is someone we don't see that often. He's a hero that does need quite a lot of farm, but if you build him the shotgun build, so if you build an F-Blade on him, and if you go Adaptive Strike and Waveform, he can absolutely nuke down heroes. So he's fun to watch.
Yeah, definitely. It's a hero, like, I think he was far more popular before I ever started to play in the game, and he was heavily nerfed as far as I remember, and it's since then he's really fallen out of flavor. But I've had a couple of games with him myself. I've tried the shotgun build, and he's a great hero to play. He's so much fun just because it's it's shifting the essence is just, it's such a unique trait to have on a hero. The last kind of picks that we see coming out is a Spectre. So obviously the Radiant team, they've gone for great early game potential with the Rubik, Magnus, Gyrocopter, and Mirana. They can fight on their own while that Spectre farms, and Spectre can be such an absolute nuisance once she gets going. We do see the Omni Knight coming out. Then again, Omni Knight he's one of these supports is that if you can play him well, you can make such a huge difference in the game.
Yeah, he's quite a nice pickup as well, because his Guardian Angel is going to be so useful against Gyrocopter and Spectre in the late game. Two heroes who do fairly decent, like pretty amazing right click damage when it gets late. But I think both strategies here. I think what we're probably going to see is a lot of fighting 4v4. So we're going to see the Magnus, Mirana, Rubik, and Gyro fighting the Omni, Prophet, Lich, and Tiny, while Morphling and Spectre tries to get their farm. I imagine that's probably what we're going to see.
Well, just taking a look at the lineup of the heroes at the moment, going on this Magnus, he seems to be making his way towards the mid, is the Magical 7. On Mirana is Gamer. On Rubik we have Kobe. On the Spectre we actually have Justness. And finally on the Gyrocopter we have the amazing Murderer Bear. Fantastic name.
And for the Dire we have M, or is that M or Erm? It's M, I think. Sorry, it's moving. On the Omni Knight. On the Death Prophet, who's making her way mid, we have Slash. Morphling, who's going to be taking the safe lane carry position, we have Sempton. On the Lich, it's going to be a Trident, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be Exodia. And then finally on the Tiny, sorry for dead you.
Okay. So I guess you could say that Slash is soloing mid. Sorry, couldn't resist. So yeah, didn't see this tri-lane coming out. I'm not going to say it's risky sending the Morphling up top. Like I've seen Morphling go mid before, and he can be effective. The fact is he does have that waveform to actually escape. So the only kind of problem is that going up against seems going to be a solo offlane Gyrocopter as well. It's going to be an interesting lineup to see how they actually match up against each other.
Yeah, I think Morphling should be fine. I mean, once he gets his morph up, he's going to be fairly hard to harass if he kind of moves it into strength. And I mean, Gyro's not going to be that harassy. He's a 52 52 right-click damage at the moment. He's skilled Rocket Barrage, so yeah, Morphling should be fine. What's going to be really interesting is this tri-lane, both defensive and aggressive down bottom. This is the lane to watch. We're going to see a hell of a lot of kills in this lane. Already Tiny is spotted out the Rubik.
We do have an invisible Omni Knight here. Now the thing is about Spectre is she's only scary when it gets to the late game, and we see this Mirana's going to go down straight away, possibly. Oh, and that's brilliant.
He needs to come out. Oh,
to the cold grave.
Yeah, I think right away we can see the nuke potential of the aggressive tri-lane. So you have the Tiny Avalanche Toss, you have the Lich Frost Blast, and then you have the on the Purification. So that's an insane amount of damage coming out in the early game, and that'll nuke down any of the heroes that the Radiant have in their defensive tri-lane.
And especially it's such quick burst as well. The fact is they're pretty much all point of cast, so it's the fact that they can get the damage up there, get in their faces, and do that damage quickly. Now the Spectre, I was going to say, is that Spectre is one of those heroes that when she gets going in the late game, like all carries pretty much, she's very, very hard to stop, but she's so easily shut down early on in the game. Like the fact is they have so many stuns, so many slows. Spectre Dagger is great for getting away, but if that avalanche comes out, as we saw on that Mirana, the burst damage is fantastic.
Yeah, the only problem is they don't have actually any direct stuns apart from Avalanche, which I'm pretty sure is a mini stun. It's not. Yeah, the stun duration is only 1 second.
Denied.
So really, Spectre should be fine. I mean, Spectre gets initiated on Shield Spectral Dagger, and she should be fine because there's going to be no hard lockdown on her. The heroes that have to be really careful is Rubik and Mirana if they can bait out the leap.
Yeah,
but also the offensive tri-lane, it combos well into each other, so you're going to see a Frost Blast which will slow into Avalanche Toss. The Avalanche will stun them long enough for Omni to come in and purify. So it's a well drafted aggressive tri-lane.
kind of taking a look at the way the last hits are going at the moment. The gyro is doing, and we're going to see an initiation down on the bot again just as I leave. But oh, that's a good arrow coming out there. But this is the problem, is that they have nothing really to follow it up yet. They've no real big nuke, and they do have the Fade Bolt in the form of the Rubik, but it's nowhere near compared to a Purification, Frost Blast, and the Avalanche with a toss. But kind of taking a look at the problem.
Sorry, I was just going to say, this is the problem when you go tri-lane and you have a hero who's really a farmer. So you have like a Void, an Anti-Mage, or a Spectre who really don't kind of do anything in the early game apart from a right click. Usually when you're running a tri-lane, you want all three of your heroes to have either a stun or a lot of burst damage. Because obviously they'll add something, because once you have a tri-lane you want to get kills, because you're dedicating 3 heroes to one lane. So while they do have the stuns in the Marana Arrow and the Lift, which combos really well, and I'd say we'll see that combo well throughout this game, they just don't really have the damage, especially with Omni Knight's Purification. I can't really see any of the heroes in this tri-lane for the Dire going down.
Yeah, definitely. Just kind of taking a look at the way the last hits are going. The Gyrocopter is doing very well up top. He's actually leading the board on 12 let's say. This is following up by the Death Prophet mid on 9. But the Tiny is doing very well in the lane versus the Spectre. It's 9 to him to 7 to the Spectre. The knives coming out are pretty low at the moment, though, is the only thing.
The Radiant's tri-lane bottom are scared, and they're perfectly right to be scared. I mean, my kind of thoughts on kind of when you're either outmatched in the lane or you're outnumbered in the lane is you're far better being scared than you are being brave and then dying. I think a lot of people try to make up for an early death by trying to get a kill or trying to get those last hits, and then they start feeding again. And especially in a tri-lane versus tri-lane situation, if you start feeding kills, a tri-lane versus tri-lane snowballs out of control so quickly, because obviously 3 of your heroes are getting the kills and 3 of their heroes are dying. So I think they're playing this correctly. Obviously Spectre's not getting too many last hits, but they're being cautious. Well, just as I say that, she gets initiated on.
And this is the problem, she's had to push back so far now because of this. She does have a salve, which is good, we're just going to keep her in the lane. But yeah, it's definitely, it's the kind of thing, it happens, there's so much mentality in the game, is that I've died, I need to get kills, and you TP back into lane and you can end up just running straight into your death again, and it gets frustrating, and it's hard to play the game like this when you get frustrated because you make stupid mistakes, and it makes it harder for you to get back into the game.
Yeah, I mean, a game of Dota is a long game. Fair enough, if you're not getting your last hits in early, it's not the end of the world, just don't feed. You see 6 now coming out on the Death Prophet. Magnus should have it soon, and I wonder now, is this Magnus going to consider actually just leaving and doing something different? Spectre has actually come into the mid lane here. Is she considering going in the mid lane and putting the Magnus down on the bot? Gyrocopter just to get the Morphling up top. Well, that's a really good pick off from the Gyrocopter. I didn't actually see that, but that's huge. I mean, I thought this lane was going to be a kind of a passive farming lane, but to get a kill off on Morphling, who has waveform, who is morph into strength, he's an extremely hard hero to gank, really.
Morphling hasn't actually spec'd into his morph at all. All he has is just a waveform.
Yeah, no, I like to always spec at least one into your morph, because it can save you from stuff like that.
Exactly, you just turn on the... Well, I've seen that the builds I've played before is that you actually spec it first. You start changing your stats while you're in the base. Because he's so mana dependent and that skill is so mana dependent, so you do that in the base, and then when you come out to lane, you're already set at your stats.
Yeah, I mean, a morph does more than just make you tanky. I mean, if you're in a relatively passively farming lane, spec agility and your last hit potential goes up by crazy amount. But we're going to see an engagement here top. Death Prophet is rotating. They don't really have anything. See a Magnus coming down bottom as well. Oh, that's the wrong way to go from Gyrocopter. He's in trouble.
Magnus does have the Invis rune down bot. They have caught out. No, it's the repels after taking it away. I don't think they can make anything happen with this Magnus and the Invis rune. The Dire are being very careful, they're staying right back, but Magnus is going to go in here, but I don't think even if they catch him with a full RP, I don't think there's the follow enough damage to actually
they don't even have the RP, he's 35 experience points away from the RP.
Oh, that's a short skewer.
Yeah, he's going to get the skewer of all of it, yeah.
But this is the problem. And can he afford out the stun? No, but they are going to... No, they actually managed to get out of that. The Radiant, they kind of panicked a bit, but they managed to get out there, they managed to keep their lives.
Oh, and that's gone in here.
Oh, that's a huge
great deal.
And this is the Gyrocopter again, 2 kills, possibly the 3. That's 3 kills going the way. And this is big. That Gyrocopter has died once, but he's got 3 kills. He got 3 kills on just going down there, just to say hello, and he's after getting his kills. I think that he's actually gone to Midas. So we're going to see an interesting game coming out, by the way, this Gyrocopter. It'll be nice to see what what items he actually chooses to go for, because he has the Midas up and he's been winning his lane, so he kind of has the run of the game at the moment.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, Midas is the flavour of the month at the moment. We're seeing a crazy amount of Midases being picked up. I think in the final of the MLG between DK and Speed Gaming, I think we saw 7 Midases being picked up in Game 2. I think we saw 5 in Game 1 and 3 in Game 3, I think. It was, I mean, insane amount of Midases being picked up.
Not enough creeps in the game for all those Midas.
I know, right? I mean, it's hard to explain. I've done kind of a lot of thinking about this recently. It's a difficult one to explain. I think it's the supports picking up the Midas kind of can be explained by what we were going through earlier about how it's a lot harder for supports to pick up items, or sorry, get experience at the early part of the game. I think for the supports it's a lot more about experience than it is from the gold game. And obviously, you know, games at the moment in the meta are ending quite early, so we're seeing games end in the 30 to 35 mark. So if you can, you know, if you get a Midas, you're fair enough, you're behind on gold, but you're getting your levels really quickly. And as we know, for supports, really levels are more important than gold, because they're just going to be spending it on wards and, you know, mechanism, which is obviously a great item.
Yeah, definitely. Like, but then when you see it on the carry, it's a flip side. Like I've talked about so many times, like when we're playing games ourselves, that I would like consider going Midas, like let's say for example on a Lifestealer, and I've played against Lifestealer Midases, and personally I don't think it's as beneficial. If your game goes 40 minutes plus, yeah, it's going to do you great, but the fact is, if you didn't go it, your game probably wouldn't have gone 40 minutes plus.
Yeah, we'll go back to this Midas talk in a second next. We might see an engagement. Magnus has the RP.
Oh, that's a great RP, and oh, this is a huge pickup. That's a mega unstopper, and we're going to see as well, this is just going to go down to the... Lich does manage to get 2 kills out of that. Is he going to get away? Good leap in, but she has nothing to follow it up.
No.
Dire's middle tower is being attacked.
And stole the frost armor. Now, all the while this has been happening, Morphling's been doing the right thing. He's ignoring everyone. He's farming. He doesn't care about this. They can squabble over the farm all they like, but again, at the same time, the Spectre's doing the exact same thing. I kind of think that the Spectre will outcarry the Morphling.
It's hard to tell. I mean, they're both extremely high carries. I think it depends on the Morphling's build, really. I mean, if Morphling starts specking into F-Blade and starts nuking everyone with Adaptive Strike, then Morphling can probably start to hit his peak effectiveness earlier than Spectre. But I mean, it's hard to know. They're both extremely high carries. But I think what's happening now is, we're going to see an engagement Spectre. No, she's going to be fine. But yeah, this is what we were talking about. Morphling and Spectre are just passively farming. And just quickly going back to the Midas chat, in this game, Gyrocopter pick up the Midas is extremely strange pickup for me, because like what we were saying was true, that it's going to be the 4 versus 4. And as a Gyrocopter, you're picking up the Midas. You should really only be picking that up if you're the Protect 1 hero, not the hero that's, you know, that needs to be fighting as a 4-man to let the other harder carry do the farming. I mean, if the Gyro picked up, you know, maybe something like a Drums or a Yasha, I mean, which you would have picked up a lot quicker if you didn't go Midas, then the 4-man would go a lot better for the Radiant.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I was just kind of thinking there to myself, just when it comes to Morphling's Replicate, I wonder, will that actually spawn another haunt for the Spectre? Not a major tactical advantage, but let's say for example she has her Radiance out. That's going to be just extra targets that's actually going to be coming out on.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see 2 TPs coming down bot now. I think the Dire's
4 coming down.
Ghost has been
it has been it's been stolen by the Rubik as well.
It's a good steal. The charge comes
out. And here comes the Chain Frost. And Lich is having a game.
The arrow's going to get Lich.
Oh, that was a great Magnus.
Magnus there skewering in, and really that's a great pickup from the Rubik.
Rubik's just got to sit here. That's the power of Rubik. You have a big ult, he's going to turn it on you. And buybacks coming out of this Gyrocopter, I think, is absolute madness.
Yeah, there's absolutely no reason to buy back here. No towers are being pushed, and even if they were, it's far too early to be buying back. Especially if you've gone Midas. But yeah, I think what we saw there was Magnus being a bit too hasty. There's absolutely no point skewering in to a team if, number 1, you've nothing to follow up, and number 2, you're skewering into a team of massive teamfight potential with the Death Prophet Ghosts were already up, and the Lich obviously had his level 6, so he was going to throw that ult straight away. So yeah, it was a bit reckless there by the Magnus.
See, in all this now, the Spectre has been happy. She's farming up mid. She already has her Ring of Health up, but she has her phase. Kind of, we do know
Oh, nice arrow. Sorry, go on.
Which we was going to say is, though, we do know someone who does like to play Spectre a lot, and one of the things they do, which is quite interesting, is they go phase, drums, Yasha. Oh, and they're not going to be able to stop him here. And he's
Great TP by the river.
Yeah. One of the, that's just to completely jump ahead of my point, that's one of the things that players really undervalue is just stop and TP. More than likely, if you've timed it right, you get out. They had no way of stopping you, so you take a good risk that you're not going to actually get caught out, and a good way for him away from there by the Morphling, and he's actually safe there from the RP or any kind of nuke damage potential. But the Spectre, we know that he likes to play, so he likes to go phase, drums, Yasha, kind of early game fight, and what he does is he keeps farming, but if he's going to come in, he comes in and he's relevant.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of Spectre. She has a global presence, so she can keep farming and she can participate in the team fights. Now she's not going to participate that much, but yeah, I mean every bit helps, especially if you're 4-4ing, and the Morphling's way farming some distant location. The Spectre Hans can really turn the tide of a fight. I've seen if it's tiny now, but Magnus has the spider senses.
They're tingling, but he's staying there. He has his TP, but he's away.
TP. Yeah. Not exactly sure how they saw that. Oh, they had a ward. Sorry,
and Rubik's caught out this Death Prophet, but she's fine. He's not exactly going to be able to just right-click.
Oh,
the Spectre does come in.
Great.
That's good play. That's very, it's very observant. That's what you need to be able to do with a Spectre. If you spot the opportunity, take it. It's going to just allow him to kind of just get ahead now. Last hits are still in the favour of the Morphling, but the only problem is he has died once. He's got 1 kill versus Spectre now, who has 1 kill and no deaths.
Yeah, I mean Spectre is quite like Nature's Prophet in that sense. You know, once you have a global presence, if you have the map awareness to back that up, then you can get some easy pickoffs, and you know those pickoffs are quite important because you know that kill just gave Spectre 281 gold, which is nothing to be sniffed at.
And that she has finished her Vanguard now, which makes her just so much tankier.
Yeah, Vanguard's an interesting pickup. I'm not sure would I pick it up on a hard carry like Spectre. So we're going to see an engagement here mid.
Oh, good Moonlight.
Yeah, the RP is up.
Skewers in, catches all of them in the RP, and that's a great play. Yeah. Kind of a bit too late, and that's what they took out 3 heroes there.
We might get more. That's a good adaptive strike.
He is caught out.
Good
Spectre's going to get the kill here. And the Omni Knight, he didn't need to go in. What was he going to be able to do there? And he's just fed his life there. Didn't need to go in. He was the Morphling was dead. It's one of the hardest things. I've talked about this so many times in the past, but it's kind of hard to say can't leave him behind. And you end up going in. You just feed your life. So that was a full team wipe, and they saved the tower, and they're going to be able to push the tier 2 tower if they wanted.
Yeah, I mean this is something that the Dire have to have kind of been aware from the very start. Once we saw that Mirana pick up and the Magnus pick up, you know, we were saying in the draft that this is one of the things they're going to go for. They're going to go for the Moonlight Shadow into RP. So really, I think what the Dire need to do is identify that and then assign a support like a Lich or an Omni Knight to just keep buying sentry wards, buy them, and then every time you want to push a tower, plop it down, plop the big sentry ward down, and then you won't be able to get initiated on like that again.
Exactly, and it's so easy to stop. Like if you see one hero that's invis, you know they're there, so you can just back out.
Yeah, and usually the first time you do it, you'll get a free kill because a lot of players don't have the kind of the presence of mind to constantly check inventories of the other heroes. So usually when your first sentry goes down, they're not going to think you have a sentry, and they'll just walk right into the middle of you, and you know that'll be a dead hero.
There's a good arrow coming out, does hit the tiny, but Omni Knight's going in apparently. It's adaptive strife, and the call down does manage to get out just as the gyrocopter actually dies. We do see the ult comes out from the Lich, but it only hits. Oh, it does manage to RNG with back into the fight. Oh, and it does get the Rubik with an adaptive strike, and we're going to see they're actually going to chase the Spectre here, but the Spectre should be fine if he's out. Oh, and the Magnus is coming back in. Magnus wants blood. He does get the Lich, but the only problem is he's after coming in now, and 2 heroes that can come down. Tiny is back in here. Oh, and Tiny just throw in, he gets the kill. Oh, unfortunately, he didn't manage to actually get the Spectre there, but had the ult actually been focused there from the Death Prophet, possibly he could have got her, but the Tiny is still coming back. He wants blood. He's going to toss, and he gets the kill. Scrappy, but effective. They kind of had that fight there. It was very lucky in the way that the Lich ult came back, is that it actually managed to bounce through the creeps and come back to get the Rubik. Had the Rubik stolen that, it would have been a completely different team fight.
Yeah, they kind of looked out in the RNG with the Lich ult, but a good initiation from the tiny Omni Knight. They tiny true Omni Knight in, and they picked off the Gyrocopter that way. Gyrocopter got a really good call down, but he went down very very quick.
Yeah.
And then after that, we just saw a kind of a bit of a skirmish. Obviously the Dead Prophet stayed alive for quite a long time, and her ghosts were up the whole time. So that's obviously going to do quite a lot of damage. And then we saw the tiny get the haste rune, which he was able to clean up with that.
Oh yeah, just been an absolute nightmare. Just the fastest thing on two stone legs, just running in there. Just even the toss on the Mirana is brilliant. Just because he can get up with that haste rune, he gets right up in their face, grabs her, and she's going nowhere. He could have even
the Sun Knight's in trouble.
And they do back out, fighting over ward control. Oh, and that's a huge miss in the RP.
The RP.
I think it was a bit of a misclick there, but they do manage to turn this around and to come in. They're going to see. Oh, we see 2 go down, and the Omni Knight is stunned, and that's 3. Even though it was a sloppy play from the Magnus, they did manage to turn that round, and they're possibly looking at Roche. They definitely, yeah, they should take this Roche, and this is going to be a great victory for them. Fair enough, fighting over the rune position is nice, but it's if you're going to risk your life, just get out, or even at least 2 of the heroes get out of there. There's no need for all 3 of them just to protect, just to get that rune spot.
Well, yeah, I mean, even that. I mean, I think it was the Spectre showed himself, and as soon as he showed the Death Prophet, the Lich, and the Omni, I should have just gone away straight away, because you don't have vision up, and they're coming out of their jungle. They've all just been killed, so they're probably going to be in a 5-man. You don't have vision of anybody else anywhere, so you just have to assume there's going to be 5 people coming out of the jungle. So yeah, there's absolutely no point being there. You just got it back. Interesting giving the Aegis to the Spectre.
Yeah, she's not going to be able to do anything with it, whereas giving it to the Gyro, had he gone down, he can come back and be relevant in the fight. Spectre can go down twice as quick than the Gyrocopter would.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Spectre is going to be the Aegis carrier later in the game, but I think at this point Mirana and Gyrocopter are far more influential in the team fights than she is. Now, I suppose if you could argue that you're a farming hero, so you don't want to die and lose gold, but even still.
Possibly might catch out the Rubik here. They need to be very careful here. They have no vision in the jungle. They could easily just Moonlight Shadow in and catch them all unawares.
Dire's bottom tower is under siege.
Kind of just taking a quick look at the way the levels are going at the moment is the Magnus is 11, the Mirana's 9, Rubik's 11, Spectre's 11, and the Gyrocopter is 12. I mean, looking at the kills, it's 21-10, and this shows in the levels on the actual Dire team. We see Omni Knight at 7, Slash at 11. The Morphling is keeping up with the Gyrocopter at 12, but Lich is 9, and the Tiny is 9.
Yeah, a big shout out to the supports at the moment. If you look at the map, just look at all the wards and sentry wards being put up. Some really good work by the supports, and de-warding as well, which is obviously crucial.
I like this ward just down here. Just see by the river, see where Dire's ward is, and just to the left of it, there's an observer ward coming out by the way of the Radiant. Now that's such a smart ward, because who's going to think to actually de-ward there? It's always either on the actual ward spot or up on this little cliff, but nobody ever thinks to actually put it up here.
Yeah, now I'm not sure if it's inside of that sentry ward. I don't think it is. No, it's just out of range.
So we see now that both teams, they want a 5v5, but I kind of think it'd be more beneficial if they took a breather and they took their 4 heroes. So if the Morphling went back to farming, Spectre went back to farming. You take a look at the 2 sides. You have the Magnus, Mirana, Rubik, and Gyrocopter. That's an effective 4-man right there. They have 2 great initiations, 3 great initiations, and they have huge damage potential coming out of Gyrocopter. Then you look at the other side. You have the Death Prophet, the Lich, the Tiny with a stun coming out, Omni Knight with just the heal potential. They're going to be able to easily man-fight each other, but the only problem is the Death Prophet needs to make sure that she has that ult ready for it. Otherwise, they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, she did pop the ults to get that bottom tower. I don't think this is the fight they want to take. They don't have their Tiny, and the ult is probably going to finish up soon enough. Yeah, it's pretty much finished now. Yeah,
Radiant are looking to move in here. And the Tiny seems to be coming down a very dangerous route, but he's going up the river, which is safer. Yeah, we cast a game before with a Death Prophet where we were kind of saying is that we didn't agree with when they were using their ult, but the kind of thing is, it's a pretty short cooldown. If it means that you're definitely going to get the tower, it kind of is worth it. Fair enough, it's not going to be up for a team fight, but if you only just take the tower and leave, it was worth it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any argument that for popping in when you're quickly trying to take a tower, especially up against this team. You know, they've the Dire have already fallen victim to trying to take a tower and then be completely wiped in a team fight thanks to Moonlight Shadow RP. So yeah, I mean, if you're trying to get a tower, hitting putting putting your ghost down really quickly, getting it, and then getting the hell out of there before you get initiated on is perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's kind of a similar vein of like using your wards to take towers. Like that's kind of one of the strongest features of it. It is a great team fighting ult, don't get me wrong there, but the fact is that it can take towers down so quickly, which can give you such an advantage. Like, fair enough, it's not all about the towers, it's about the throne, but if you get to their throne quicker, you can just win by attrition.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, the gold advantage, you know, getting a tower, it will swing the gold advantage quite heavily in your favor. So yeah, I mean, it's obviously very important. Just a note to point out, actually, we were saying after that initiation mid that the Dire need to recognize this and assign a support to pick the sentry wards. I think if you look at the map now and if you look at Omni Knight's inventory, you can see that that's exactly what they've copped.
Yeah.
They need sentry wards, and the sentry warding has been really good from the Omni Knight. And I reckon if he keeps this up, this is going to pay dividends.
Bottom tower is being attacked.
Definitely. Like, taking a look just at the Gyrocopter's build here, I find it just a bit baffling. Like, he went for the Helm of the Dominator first, I can understand that. But then to get the Chrysalis first, I kind of feel Yasha would have been far and away better. Just the fact that it would increase his attack potential, and the fact that he'd be moving so much quicker. Chrysalis is nice, but if it's crits on slower attacks, it's not as effective as crits on faster attacks.
We're going to see the arrow.
Oh, the arrow does miss.
It's completely miss. But yeah, I mean, Nash would be nice, but I think he's got to go for the BKB. The BKB would help it so much. It's not going to do anything for exorcism, fair enough, but pretty much everything that Tiny has, everything that Lich has, everything, you know, that... I know, actually, the Purification would probably go through it. But, you know, Adaptive Strike, Magical... Yeah, the BKB is going to do quite a lot for you in this game.
The Rubik is away there, and they should really recognise they knew he TP'd out, and they do have vision on all of them sitting in here. So if they're able to get in there and just stun out or even throw out the Lich Ult, they're going to be able to do a lot of damage here. It's kind of, I do feel for this Magnus at the moment, because the kind of team fight rests on his hairy shoulders. He has to get those RPs, and he cannot afford to have a repeat performance of last time.
Yeah, but I think he's done really well so far. Every team fight that the Radiant have taken, they've taken because of a really good RP.
Oh, here we go, but the only problem is he's fighting on top. Oh, and he pushes them out of the call down, and he's going to lose his life to this, and there's a huge ult coming out from the Lich. They're just doing so much damage, but the fact is they're fighting right under this ult, and the Rubik is going to lose his life to this, and this is a great play. This is not what they wanted to happen. They wanted to be the ones initiating, and they got initiated on perfectly. Such a misplay from the Magnus, actually taking them out of the call down. Had they not done that, it would have been a completely different story there.
Yeah, pure curse of the commentator. Sometimes I think when you're a Magnus, and I've fallen victim to this trap as well, but you kind of feel that you have to skewer after an RP. But I mean, it was perfectly fine. The RP was perfectly placed. He caught like 3 or 4 heroes, which is absolutely fine. And the call down was coming down on top. You don't need to skewer there at all. You've done your job. Just give yourself a nice cleave, and then go to town. Skewer afterwards. You know, skewer when the RP stun has finished and they've tried to move out again, just to get that extra bit of damage.
Yeah, exactly. And you think about, like, the damage from Shockwave is 300 damage versus the 280 of the Skewer. Like, fair enough, it is a nice nuke, but had that call down come out, had he done a Shockwave call down and Skewer, he probably would have taken out the whole team there. They just managed to claw back with the Omni Knight heal, with the Omni Knight ult, and just the fact that he was fighting under the Exorcism as well, and it's, you cannot fight under Exorcism. You just cannot.
No, and we're going to see the Relic has been picked up by the Spectre. She's probably going to be going Radiance. Once the Spectre gets Radiance, she obviously becomes a lot more tricky in team fights, because she haunts, and then all of her illusions has Radiance, and she starts to really kind of pull her weight. It's interesting, actually. I mean, we were saying at the beginning that we were going to see a 4v4 with Spectre farming and Morphling farming. We're actually seeing a 4v5. Oh, Tiny's going to pick out Spectre here.
Oh, it's a blind arrow, nearly caught him out. Good dodge, good read of what was actually happening there. So yeah, they're going to catch out the Spectre. Oh, unfortunately. And the RP comes in.
Great RP. Okay, now Skewer.
Oh, he's getting out of there, but the call down does come down. And he skewers it away again! Got them out of the rocket barrage, got them out of the call down. this Magnus, he needs to relax on his skewering, but the only problem is the damage is coming out now by the way of the Radiant, but they're 3 heroes going down, and their Spectre goes down. They're losing these team fights. Oh no, that's a great pickup then from the Gyrocopter. One of the worst things is you think you've got away, and suddenly the the homing missile comes out and takes you down. And Morphin just died in.
Oh, Magnus, you poor hairy bastard.
I'm really feeling for this guy. It's so unfortunate when you have an ult like that. Like, let's say for instance Void, right? Void is an ult that is so amazingly good. Same as with Magnus, but if you get it wrong, you're going to get reported. That's all people ever see is you messed up. It's your fault.
But I mean, the real problem here is that he's nailing his ults. His ults are extremely good, apart from the one down by the rune, which didn't even matter because they got the kills anyway. He's catching 3 or 4 people in these ults every time. He's just his follow up is just so poor. Like that ult there was screaming for a skewer. He was perfectly positioned to be able to skewer 3 people right into Gyrocopter. And then he skewers the other way. I'm not like. Even if Gyrocopter wasn't there, skewering
away from the enemy,
away from your team fight is just never a good idea ever. Yeah, but I do feel for him. I mean, Magnus is a hero, as you were saying. You know, he's one of those heroes, and he has that ability that's just going to draw people's attention. You know,
attention is a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, I mean, messing up. It's such an obvious ability to mess up. But yeah, I mean. He just has to remain calm here. He's catching.
Death Prophet is coming in here. Did he catch it? The silence or the ult? Oh, and he got the ult.
Dire's bottom tower is being attacked.
Oh, look at that damage! That is just that's hard to watch. He may be invisible, but Death Prophet's ghost don't mind.
Let me put it in Old English so that it will penetrate your wizard's cap.
They know they're here somewhere.
Dire's bottom
he just doesn't have the rest of his team right. Oh, but he's been spotted.
And he is caught.
Oh, he had a wand as well. 15 charge wand. That probably would have saved him.
Yeah. The only problem is like he could have skewered away possibly. I think when he could clearly see where they all were. At the end there, but he should have kind of read the situation, see what happened, knew that he was going to be invisible only for so long, and turned backtracked and skewered away and gone around the long way. We're seeing the Dire come into their own now. They're taking these team fights with great conviction. They're just fighting so well. The fact is that because they have this Omni Knight and they have the mech coming out as well, is they're surviving these fights where they should be dead and that the Radiant should be stomping them. And the Radiant are just making silly mistakes. Fair enough, Magnus is getting off these unlucky skewers, but he can't be blamed purely just for that.
No, I mean, like obviously the team fights would have gone completely differently had the skewers worked. But I think we have to kind of just look away from the Magnus at the moment now and just give props to the team fighting of the Dire.
Oh, that's an RP. But this time, this is when he needed to skewer. I think now the only problem is when something like this happens to a player is they panic and they feel like that they can't do it anymore. He should have gone behind. He should have skewered in, and he would have caught all those heroes, and they would have been dead now. But you can just even see is that this a little bit ballsy there. But I think she figured that she was going to be able to take it down. But you can't forget about that Fade Bolt.
No sorceries avail.
Jared just popping early rocket barrage. Doesn't a lot of damage though. Oh, and this Magnus. He's having an absolute howler of a game. Just pick up the Omni Knight. Gyrocopter just popped his rocket barrage a little bit too premature. She just throw this homing rocket, and there we go. That's all he needs.
He's not going to have the mana to get out of here as well. He's in trouble.
No. A casual pickup from
a nice 708 gold going to Spectre. I mean, yeah, that RP was okay, in my opinion. Fair enough, he could have skewered and it would have been even more effective. But the RP, it took out the Lich, it put most of the heroes on, half health or lower, and then they were able to clean up. Fair enough, they lost a tower, but I think the way things are going, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, exactly. We see the Gyrocopter does finally have his Yashi out now, which is going to make him just a lot more effective. You can even see just like taking these ancients down, he's just attacking so much quicker.
I think one thing to point out as well is Morphling's done a great job of being relevant in this game. He's really, from about the 20-minute mark, he's joined the 5-man, and he's been quite effective. He's picked up nice kind of mid to late game items with Helm the Dominator and Manta Style, and his Ring of Aquila and the Wraith Man as well. Makes him fairly potent in this.
We might see just pick up here. Magnus should have been spotted out. Omni Knight's going in.
Spectre needs a Spectral Dagger and get the head out of here, which he's going to do now.
Oh, and the Magnus. Poor Magnus. Of course, he can't go invisible because of the ult. Oh, and he just manages to get away. But the Moonlight Shadow's is gonna run out. He has no mana. He should use his wand charge.
Yeah, he does have that wand. I think he's forgotten about it.
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
He must have heard us. The degen aura on Omni Knight is actually so scary. Like when they were Moonlight Shadowed down in the Radiance jungle and the Magnus was trying to get away, it worked so well in the fact is that they didn't know he was there. They'd no way of knowing he was there. But the fact of the matter is that they kept him there long enough that they could keep an eye on him, and then when he did come invisible or become visible again, he was near enough to them just because of that slow.
Yeah, unfortunate timing there as well from the Death Prophet. Her ghosts came off just as she got to the tower. I got to get to the racks, but I mean, the Radiant need to start moving here. Gyrocopter and Rubik. Gyrocopter doesn't even have a TP, and Rubik doesn't have the mana to use his TP.
And this is going to be dangerous.
Gyro's going to buy one now.
It's going to take a long while for this Rubik to get back, and even then he's going to have to go straight back to the fountain to heal. And they're not really going to be able to engage this, and they can push up this lane. The fact is they do have the Tiny. He's on his way to getting his Agnes. When he gets that, he's just going to be able to eat towers for breakfast.
Yeah, no, the Dire are going to hesitate here, so that's going to give the Radiant time to get back.
Kind of the smart thing. I don't think they need to pressure this anymore. They should go. They can go get a Roche. They can just go and just push other lanes. Like they can defend their TU2 here. There's no point in just staying here unless you can guarantee that you're actually going to get that tower. The only problem is that the heroes that they're going up against have such reach that the Magnus can blink out Orpy and pull you straight into the fight. Standing outside the base isn't really going to do any favors here.
Magnus,
oh, that's a good ult coming out. Magnus is actually going to... He chains it back to himself and he's going to change it to...
What are you doing?
Magnus, you need to stop. And okay, with that they do have... Yeah. That's the repel coming out so she can just come up and she can tank that tower. Oh, Omni Knight's going in for blood. He does get silenced though.
Good blink. Do not skewer out of that. Yeah, good job.
And this is down. It's a great pickup. And this is the scary part now, is when they actually do manage to get these team fights off, they just destroy them. That's a complete team right there.
Triple homicide.
Yeah, I mean the Spectre now is starting to become actually properly scary. She's doing decent right
straight
damage.
butterfly.
Going butterfly as well. But I think we have to do props to Magnus there. He got a really good RP off. It landed into the call down. And yeah, just a great initiation there by Magnus and by the rest of the team.
I think the only reason why he didn't RP was I think he was on cooldown because he used it in the base. That's only a possibility now. But
no, he did RP.
No, didn't skewer.
Oh, skewer, sorry. Yeah, no, he didn't skewer, I think, because it was on cooldown. Yeah, he did use it in the base. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Good job, Magnus. Just keep it on cooldown, you'll be fine. So this is kind of we haven't taken a look at the goal graphs and the XP graphs in a while, but I'm just taking a quick look while they're pushing this tower up. It's heavily pulled back into the favour of the Radiant. The Dire were hugely ahead, but with that full 5 white there, so that they're after evening out the game. Same, looking at the experience though, is the Radiant is pulling ahead by a significant amount.
I'll actually have to put this now into the favour of the Radiant. Their team fight is just so scary, and when it works, there's nothing the Dire can do. They just melt. And also then we have that Spectre who's starting to become quite fed.
I don't know why they're hesitating here.
Well, they need to back now. They've waited too long. Ghost has been popped. RP's up in 9 seconds. They need to nuke this Magnus down extremely quickly. 5 seconds.
It's
a great skewer. Really good skewer. Oh, and they're pursuing this into the jungle.
They don't know where they are. And
crazy.
The Death Prophet is split from the rest of the team. She was the one who's doing the damage. They do manage to catch out the RP. And this is just, they were completely split up here. They don't even take down the Rubik that we were chasing. Might just finish him off, but what was the point?
Yeah, but
and now Jar comes in and this is Well, the Morphling does look like he just might make it away. He needs to start shifting into that strength if he wants to get away. And there it is.
My missile is probably going to come out. Jara wants this. Death Prophet survives somehow.
My missile is going to come out, but I don't think Jara's going to get him here.
Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get him here. Jara's going to get h
He doesn't have enough mana though. The only problem is he needs to switch those boots.
Morphing's he's morphing into agility here. He needs to be really careful about that.
He's going to lose. He's going to die.
Oh,
Madness.
Crazy
He was
Morphing.
away.
You remind me of my old
And this Death Buffer coming in, she has no business being here. Oh my god.
No, it's the rock
Satanic.
gonna take her now.
Satanic on the gyrocopter.
Dyer's top tower is under
Homing missile, and you got her.
Let's
Oh.
watch
No,
and
bit
see
away.
what happens. Radiant's bottom
Yeah,
tower
strange
is
plays
being
coming out from that
attacked.
Morphling. He was away. He was home
Dyer's
free.
top tower
But
is being
I
attacked.
think possibly his reasoning was, if I put it back into agility, I'll go faster and I might
Radiant's
escape.
bottom
But
tower is under siege.
he just ended up making him an easy target.
Yeah, no, I
Stabilization,
don't think agility has anything to do with movement speed. I just think that was just a pure misclick. Maybe he thought he was morphing strength, but it was clear to see that his health was dropping like a stone.
Panic plays, and with this they are going to take up the Roshan. A gyrocopter with Satanic is... it's pretty hard to go against when you have the fact is that he's going to stay alive longer, be pumping out damage, but you also have this Spectre who's just burning you away. She has turned off her Radiance, which is strange. I wonder now if the Spectre by accident actually switched it. There we go, she turns it back on.
One thing to note in this game as well is that we have pretty much every hero in this game is doing significant amounts of magical damage, and not one person has picked up a DKB.
Yeah. You'd think it's pretty standard fare for the Tiny, but the Tiny has gone for a hood. Spell resistance is nice, but spell immunity is far nicer.
Yeah, I mean, that's if he builds this now into a pipe, maybe that could be argued that maybe it's a good call, because you're still going to get the stun from RP, and I think you still get stunned from the Mirana arrow. I could be wrong with that, but I suppose the point I'm making is that there aren't too many stuns coming out in the way of the Radiant. It's more kind of magical damage. So maybe you don't really want maybe a hood is better than BKB in that.
Kind of taking a look at, like, that's it, is the Morphling versus the Spectre. Morphling just has his he has his boots, his helm, his Aquila, his Manta, and he's building into something with an ultimate orb. Not sure what he's going to do with that yet. Possibly a Lincoln's. I think it's a little bit